it's time to unbox and run my first ever Thomas & Friends Bachmann items. It's the Thomas with Annie and Clarabelle electric train set. If you watched my previous unboxing video, you might remember this as I got it over the summer. So I said I would do a separate video on it, and here it is. We're going to go over it. First, I like looking at the boxes. I don't know about you, but I love looking at the boxes. We'll take out Thomas, Annie, Clarabelle in a minute. I feel like you got a pretty good idea of what the front says. We'll show the sides off pretty quick as well. It just kind of shows them again there, and I'll show the other side as well, which of course is essentially identical. So here's the back, and I'll read it off since I know the font's pretty small for the view on the camera. Welcome to the island of Sodor and the magical world of Thomas and Friends. Today, you are the engineer as you get to drive Thomas, Annie, and Clarabelle to wherever your imagination desires. This train set comes complete with Thomas engine with moving eyes, Annie and Clarabelle coaches, snap fit easy track, and speed controller. So hop on board for hours of adventure with Thomas and Friends. So complete and ready to run, HO electric train set including, describes the three, so I'll do that quickly as well. Thomas the tank engine with moving eyes, Annie coach with international style hook and loop couplers, Clarabelle coach with international style hook and loop couplers, 36-inch track of snap fit easy track with 11 piece of curved track and one curved plug-in terminal rerailer. Speed controller, illustrated instruction manual. I don't think the instruction manual's in there, unfortunately. Then it shows the other stuff you could get, which is, you know, Thomas, Percy, James, Annie and Clarabelle, Cranky, Sir Topham Hatt, Bertie the Bus, Harold the Helicopter, and Troublesome Truck 1 and 2. The copyright on this, it says Britt Allcroft 2002, so this is over 20 years old at this point. And I'm ready to open it. What we're going to do is, this is a circle track, so I'm going to set that up off screen. And it'll be easier. This is a box. It's going to be a pain to pull this all out on camera, so I'm going to do all that off camera, and then we'll run this. And here we go. The track's been put together. Thomas, Annie, and Clarabelle have been taken out of the box. First, let's examine them. We'll start with Annie. So Annie, this is what she looks like. Obviously, as you can probably guess, Clarabelle's gonna look very similar to what Annie looks like. But I mean, she's designed really well. This one, considering, you know, obviously this is a used collection I bought. Like, it's in really good shape here. I'll compare faces in a second. Let's see if it has a year. I feel like I'm looking at you know, Thomas Wooden Railway items when I'm like looking for a year at the bottom, but I don't see a year. Let's grab Clarabelle. We'll quickly compare their faces. Annie's on. This is Annie. This is Clarabelle. Their faces, you know, pretty, you know, regular faces we see off of Annie and Clarabelle. Surprised one for Annie and happy one for Clarabelle. So we'll put Annie back down over here and kind of examine Clarabelle now. And again, you know, other than obviously having Clarabelle versus Annie as a name, these two are very similar, and really as it should be. You know, the one interesting thing, which, I mean, really shouldn't be as a surprise, this is just me coming from a Wooden Railway user. With Wooden Railway, you know, they designed it so Annie's face would be in the front, Clarabelle's in the back, but technically, if you wanted, you could connect them like that. So you have both of their faces facing forward. And as a kid, when I was young, really young, I always wanted that out of Annie and Clarabelle, and they didn't. And I never had these as a kid. And like even Ertl, well, like another one that I had a lot of, you couldn't do that with. So it's cool to see that, even though I'm not going to run it like that. And of course, here's Thomas. The face is interesting. I know the face is usually kind of knocked. And I get it, like, that's definitely not the best Thomas face, and I think as time went on, they've come up with better Thomas faces. But in terms of, like, what he looks like, I think they did a really fine job here with Thomas. You know, the light on the back, like, he just really looks good. Here's the bottom. Let's see if we got a year for Thomas as well, since I looked at the other two. I can't see a year on this, but like I said, the box was like 2002, so I'm going to guess that's the same for these guys. But yeah, I really like how this Thomas looks, just like Annie and Clarabelle. And we're about to get ready to run this. So for me, I don't know, I might do this as like a YouTube short or something. But like when I first put Thomas on, it was a struggle to get him going. And I kind of cleaned his wheels and I cleaned the track with rubbing alcohol. And it still doesn't work 100% great. But, you know, works well enough to run it. So we'll run it. You'll see kind of a couple spots where he starts to slow down. But beyond that, he works pretty well. And here's the switch that comes with it. I know we talked a little bit about this, but you can do, you know, directions either way you want to push it forward, and you can adjust the speed accordingly. I'm not gonna blast it all the way down to 100. We don't want to go too crazy with this. That's just gonna ruin this ultimately, and that's not what I want. But if I were to actually be getting into this and plan to buy more than what I just have here today, I definitely would be looking at track. That'd be one of the first things I'd be interested in getting and adding. And I know I'm going to have to dig this up. Maybe I'll do another video on it in the future. But I do have some non-Thomas stuff that ran like this. But I don't know if it's if it's the same scale as this or not. But that'll be a project I get to someday. Maybe a few years from now. Who knows? Maybe before that. But regardless, that's how this all looks. Now it's finally time to run it. So we'll start with Thomas. Now, the spots I'm putting them in right now is definitely, from what I've noticed, the spots they struggle the most and get stuck. So hopefully that isn't the case. I mean, I know this track's kind of old, and I'm pretty sure it hasn't really been ran in probably years. I'm pretty sure Ro, who I bought this from, made it sound like he never even ran this before. So we'll see how it goes. I do like how easy it is to couple them together. Before I got these, I always worried like that would be really hard to do, but it's not. So we're gonna go around this way, and let's begin. So that's the spot it definitely struggles. I'll do some close-up shots as well soon, but kind of give a nice view of it all at once. Now again, you know, up front it definitely gets stuck a little bit more, and I'm sure it's not perfect on this table. You probably can tell a little bit that the track closest to the camera does go off the table a little bit, but it still works. And you know, Thomas runs all right. Once it goes past this little bit, I'll speed it up just a little bit, but we'll put it back there. I don't want to go too crazy with it, but it's really cool to see this. Like, you know, this is probably, you know, Christmas time is here, and this is probably a nice little circle track you could put underneath a tree if you wanted, and run it when you want to. It's not a big circle. Like, if you have a bigger tree, it might not fit it, but it's really cool. That's for sure. But yeah, you know, all in all, I really enjoy having these. At the meetup, we had some of these, and people had a lot more track than what I do, and there's a lot more engines, and it was cool to just have these run around in circles or whatever type of set we built, and let them run. And it's cool to have one of these. This is definitely more of an expensive hobby than Wooden Railway is, so I think I'm going to stick with Wooden Railway, but like I said, it was a price I couldn't say no to, and it's cool to kind of check off the Bachmann bucket list in terms of Thomas products that I had not previously owned. So yeah, this is just me running a little circle and seeing Thomas struggle as he pulls Annie and Clarabelle, but it's really cool. It's really cool. So that's all I have to say. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, this is person number 6. Have a great day.